Hello and welcome to Dingoes 8 My Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we're discussing the episode Fredless. This episode originally aired October 22nd, 2001, attracting approximately 4.53 million viewers. So, let's start off with what was number one at the box office. We're going to do video games last because, by God, is this a week. So, number one movie in America, Dave. Any guesses?
Let's see with movies. It's been a while. I can't remember if the last week's movie was fairly much of a banger, and there's nothing that immediately comes to mind with the
Last
early
week was
2000s.
last week was From Hell, and it's not the same movie.
Yeah, with that. Then anything else?
I would be shocked if you get this one.
Hmm. Yeah, I've got nothing.
The next few you'll probably get, but this one would doubt. It's a movie called K-Pax.
Yeah, completely nothing. Just
Yeah, it's like Kevin Spacey, Jeff Bridges movie where Kevin Spacey's character thinks he's an alien or something.
not surprising. Just yeah, it's a movie concept, I suppose.
Yeah, it certainly was. And number one song in America this week, Dave.
Nothing immediately coming to mind. Sadly, again, I can't remember the one from last week. If it was still there, the only thing that's coming to mind is Alicia Keys, but I'm not sure if that was the right artist.
So Alicia Keys was the previous one. So this week, as well as last week, it is I'm Real Murder Remix by Jennifer Lopez featuring Ja Rule.
Uh,
Okay. Now, okay, so for video games, this is a again, banger of a week. I'm just going to warn you right now. Um, on the day this episode aired on the PS2, and I thought it released at the same time on Xbox as well, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me just take a look here. Oh, no, it didn't. It came out later on Xbox for some reason. This little game came out called Grand Theft Auto 3.
uh, yeah, that's a biggie.
That's freaking massive. October 24th, so 2 days later, we got Virtua Tennis 2 on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, it was also a thing, but yeah.
I see the Virtua Tennis games I remember being quite good, but I haven't played them in a long time.
Hmm.
On excuse me, excuse me. On October 28th, on the Game Boy Advance, we got a port of Doom. Which have you
I
ever?
suppose not surprising, but again, it kind of depends on which kind of Doom. And I think it was just the very first Doom and the newer Doom, which was kind of, hmm.
So this is a port of the original 1993 Doom. Have you ever played Doom?
Uh, not specifically myself, no. There's been the thought of getting into the more recent Doom games, but that hasn't come about as of yet.
So I quite enjoy the Doom games. The new ones are a lot of fun, but you have to kind of learn how to play them.
Nah, supposedly it's a particular play style that they try to teach you, mostly through the case of if you get it wrong, you die.
Yeah, so like especially I haven't played Doom Eternal, but the first one, it's very much a game that rewards you for like not standing still. Like the game is all about like pushing you into action, so the game is designed for you to get up close and personal with demons and like slaughter and like it's not a game where it's like, oh, sit back here and pick people off slowly. Like that's not going to work.
Like any cover shooter made several years ago.
Oh yeah, it's the exact opposite. You have to run headlong into the battle. Anyway, on the same day, if you were like, I don't really want to play Doom on a Game Boy Advance because why would you? Uh,
Mhm.
a little game came out on PS1, PS2, and the GameCube, which I'm sure you've heard of. A little game called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Oh, hmm. Three. Trying to remember which one specifically that was. Because I know bits and pieces of some of the Tony Hawks. Most of my experience came when Underground was released a couple of years later. But I had experience on the N64 with the first one, though I didn't have any cartridge to actually save the data. And then I went and explored the other Tony Hawks after getting into them. And I vaguely remember going through the third one, but the most I can remember is an ice level grinding on a whole bunch of ski lifts.
Oh, I don't know if that one's in this one. I would say that Pro Skater 3 is like the best one. Like, until we
Kind
get
of understandable. Usually, by about the third one, they kind of get a decent enough concepts and kind of hit the point of this is spectacular and amazing, but kind of keeps within the originals that it still has somewhat of the soul. Again, depending on the series.
yeah, and this one kind of has like everything you like. Underground is a great game. Like I'm talking like one, two, three, and four. I think three is the best because three is kind of the one where like it has all the features you expect, but it still plays like Tony Hawk.
Hmm.
Like they've really nailed the gameplay in this one.
Until it was the case of heading into four, where they're like, okay, how can we either improve or change it enough so that it makes it more interesting for people? And then it just botched.
No, see, from memory, four. Oh no, four was the one that came out in like. No, four was pretty good if I remember. I think it. I think the. No, yeah, okay. Four, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty much three, just with different levels.
Okay.
Like it's.
Maybe I'm just confusing it for the entire history of skateboarding games where they went off in different concepts and then they decided to use motion controlled controllers for certain things and it just went
Oh yeah,
all
that was
downhill.
like Tony Hawk Move or something. They did like a Wii game where you had to use like this like skateboard peripheral and stuff. That was terrible.
Mm,
Yeah, but this game is great. And Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 doesn't exist.
not as of yet, though.
Well, actually, technically it does, but I will deny it until the day I die
Duly noted.
because that game was fucking horrible. Alrighty, so that is video games for this week, and we've got another banger week next week.
Hmm.
Because I would argue that GTA 3 and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 in the same week is a pretty damn good week. Anyway,
No,
let us move on to the episode.
indeed. Because this was a thing. Oh,
Oh, this was definitely a thing. So we start off with Fred asking about Angel's relationship with Buffy, curious because he left so abruptly to meet her at the end of the previous episode. Cordelia and Wesley put on an overly dramatic, humorous play that summarizes what Angel and Buffy's off-screen reunion might have been like. They also did a comic where a bunch of other characters did this as well, which is apparently quite good, so I'm gonna have to find it. When Angel returns, he invites Fred out to ice cream, but ends up tracking a Durslar demon into the sewers. Fred notices some crystal formations on the sewer wall before Angel sends her back to the Hyperion Hotel for safety. The gang reorganize the weapons cabinet. Bored and anxious for a job, Cordelia discovers an object that could be a weapon or a toaster that Fred was making. A couple, Roger and Trish Burkle, enter the hotel searching for assistance in finding their lost daughter, Fred, whom another private detective traced to Angel investigations. The Burkles are oblivious to the supernatural, so Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn lie about Fred's disappearance and their work. When Fred returns and sees the couple in the lobby, she dashes upstairs unseen. She tries to erase the writing she scribbled over her bedroom walls, then leaves the hotel. Angel returns with a severed head of the Durslar demon and is introduced to the Burkles as their associate who works in movies. Hence the fake demon head. It's totally fake, guys. It's just paper mache.
yes, and the stuff dripping from it, it's just paint and
Yeah.
or lead.
They all head upstairs but find her room empty. While the Burkles wait out in the lobby, Angel and crew converse about the possible reasons for Fred to run away from her parents and whether the Burkles are being completely honest. They join the Burkles again and everyone splits up to help find her. After roaming the streets alone, Fred ends up at Caritas and tries to get help from Lauren, who is bitter about the recent fight that destroyed much of his bar. That seems reasonable. She sings without provocation and expresses her obvious fear and panic to him. He knows what she's running from, and she doesn't realize that she's strong enough to face it. Eventually, the rest of the gang end up at Caritas, but Lauren refuses to play along with the attempts to keep the Burkles oblivious to demonic activity and expresses his distaste for being used all the time. Finally, Lauren reveals that Fred is at the bus station. When her family and friends show up, Fred doesn't want to admit that her parents are real because it means that her awful experience in Pylea was real, but finally breaks down. Just then, a giant bug demon that followed Angel from the sewers attacks the group. Weaponless, Angel tries to handle the demon alone. All attempts to hide the truth from the Burkles are forgotten as the group rushes to Gun's truck for weapons. Angel continues the fight with the bug demon until Trish Burkle kills it by driving a bus into it. And I do love the purple blood. That was a nice touch. Back at the hotel, Fred notices the crystals she saw in the sewers on the Durslar's head. Fred wonders about her place in the gang while her parents are just grateful to have their daughter back. They reveal how they were prepared to call the police, thinking Angel and friends kidnapped their daughter. She decides that she wants to go home with her parents because she doesn't really belong with the rest of the group. As Fred packs, she tells Angel she wrote her life story on her bedroom wall. After Fred leaves with her parents, many bug demons begin to show up in the hotel. Fred, who has realized in the cab that the cockroach demons would return, rushes back to deploy her little axe-flipping toaster weapon of doom at the severed demon head. The head splits open, releasing little bugs, I think they were cockroaches, that the other demons collect before departing. Fred explains how she realized the little crystals were dried ichor from the bug demon, indicating a connection between it and the severed head. Fred decides that she does have a place at Angel Investigations after all, and invites everyone up to her room, where they help her paint the walls. Fred paints over the picture she drew of her and Angel on the horse in Pylea. So, what do you think of this episode?
It was a bit of a roller coaster with this one, where it started off giving the indications and thoughts of how things were supposedly going with Fred, her concerns of everything, and just how it would sort of develop, and sort of leaving you with the case of you don't have the information, but you're just trying to get the points together like everyone else. It was interesting with all the story with that, as well as all the action sequences with the additional bug monsters, how everything went with that, as well as her realizing and going back to help when all the rest of the stuff went down. It was interesting to see more going into the concept of herself and diving a little bit more into, oh man, I've been through some shit and I can't just hide the fact that this was supposedly fake. This happened and this is living through past trauma again.
Yeah, no, I think it's quite a good episode. I mean, I think it's nice that again, like this is one of those episodes where like Fred gets a couple of good moments because she's kind of not done anything yet.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the first time we see like, okay, so Fred's actually going to be like a part of the team, and like she's not just kind of there, like she actually can serve, like she can be a part of the team and be valuable to them because of what she does know.
Mm-hmm.
And her ability to make like demon head destroying weapons.
Of course. You know, when you lose your arms and you need to fight something still. So
That's
you
my
die
favorite
from
line.
you die from the hemorrhaging, but still.
I thought, what would happen if you had to fight somebody but your arms had been taken from you? Like,
And
what?
even more so than that, her parents were an absolute riot when they first were revealed. It's a case of, oh, worried parents, but then give you that inkling of like, is something else kind of going on? But
Yeah, they.
then continuing on with that, just the great fact of saying that the mom drove a bus and then she's the one that hits the bug monster with a bus. And I think the best thing out of the parents was the father having a bit of relation or knowing some things that Angel knows, and Angel kind of having a bit of, oh, you know stuff, cool.
Yeah, they talk about some like golf tournament from like 1962, and it's great. I loved it. It was so good. Um, I also love how Fred's mom talks about how her dad really likes the Alien movies, and she's like, "Oh, I think he fell asleep watching the most recent one," which is a fun little reference because they're referencing a movie called Alien Resurrection, which happened to have been written by Joss Whedon.
Ooh.
Although apparently, from what he said, that his original script was changed quite a bit for that movie.
Yeah, as it happens, I'm sure.
So he's kind of said like, "Yeah, I know that version shit." Anyway, um, okay, I'm gonna bring up something. I don't know if it's intentional, but I kind of wonder. So this is gonna require a bit of spoiling for the next episode.
Duly noted.
So the next episode is Billy, and it's about basically the guy who they rescued from a hell dimension can basically make men get really, really misogynistic. Right
Okay.
now,
Hmm.
did you? Okay, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but did you notice how Cordelia was dressed in this episode?
Not specifically her outfits, no.
Okay, so I don't know if it's the entire episode, but the first couple of scenes, she's in this like really short skirt with like the fishnet stockings. Like she looks incredible, but I'm almost like, I wonder if that's intentional considering the next episode, because she's wearing like a very, maybe not traditional, but a very like feminine kind of like outfit. Whereas I'm like,
Hmm.
next week they're gonna kind of play into that, and I wondered if that was intentional.
Hmm. Well, depending on how far ahead they kind of had things in mind, it might have been a case with things. Though it also would probably also relate fairly well within the character as well. It wasn't until eh,
See, the thing,
depending how it's been, she's been improving and maturing as things kind of been going on, but it's still in most cases Cordelia. She liked to dress up fancy and or in that sort of way every now and again.
yeah, but I feel like we don't often see her like she like okay. They always dress her in a very certain way, and I feel like we don't often see her in like skirts and stuff. Like
Hmm.
occasionally we've seen her in a dress, but I feel like she's usually wearing pants. But that's again going off
Okay.
of my memory and not really have been paying that close attention.
Hmm. It also is just sort of a case, I suppose, of just how the series is kind of going on. Most likely, just with the times and how things are sort of going, they would probably go that way. Uh, well, I suppose it's a thought, especially with what you're saying with the next episode.
Yeah, it's just something that I noticed when I was watching this because I knew what the next episode was, and I'm like, I wonder if that's intentional, but I don't know. Anyway, let us move on to some international titles. So there is a German one, but I'm not going to try to explain it because it's basically a German pun and it won't make any sense.
Always the sad thing when you're translating things from different languages and they try to make it punny, but it doesn't translate well to other languages.
Yeah. So, however, there is one in French, which is Demons of the Past, which I think that's a pretty good title.
Eh? I
I feel like
suppose
it's
in that way.
I feel like
Like
it's pretty
starting
relevant.
from yeah, with that, like starting from first hearing it, it's a bit of a case of does that really match? But then you think, oh, Fred dealing with her emotional trauma. There it is.
And also like they kill the one demon, but it kind of comes back to haunt them later.
It's there, but yeah, I suppose it would work.
Yeah, no, I think it's not a bad title. So just want to bring up one other thing. So I'm gonna okay. Two things I'm going to bring up that are, I guess, technically mild spoilers, but they're not that important, so whatever.
Hmm.
We will get to see Fred's parents again in a few more
Ooh,
episodes, but not for a while. I
okay.
feel like we don't get to see them again until there's a hole in the world.
Huh. Hmm.
I'm not going to tell you what that means.
It's the Buffy Angel universe. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened.
Well, no, it's an episode title. Um, she also at the bus station. Fred mentions going to Vegas and counting cards and making a fortune at blackjack. That might come back later.
Hmm. Well, it's been discussed in a couple of episodes. I think like the start of this season, I think it was that Angel comes back from his journey. It's like, man, I should have took Gud's advice and went to Vegas.
I'm just gonna say they're gonna go to Vegas at some point.
Well, there you go. As long as it's within the budget.
It's not gonna happen this season, unfortunately, though.
Oh well, what can you do?
I also love how Lorne is at like he lives at Caritas and he was watching Judge Judy.
And you just missed the best part when she's really gonna lay into them.
Oh, it made me so happy. Anyway, so if there's nothing else about this episode, next week we will be discussing an episode called Billy. So, violence erupts within Angel's gang as a demonic boy brings the prime brings par- good god. As a demonic boy brings primal rage to the surface of men, turning them hateful and murderous towards women. As Wesley and Gunn turn on a frightened Fred, Cordelia fears the onslaught of Angel's dark side. Dun dun dun.
Uh,
There's gonna be some shit.
jeez.
Oh, also, we're gonna see Cordelia get to do some sparring with Angel. Well, a little like some training,
Okay.
which might be leading to something. And anyway, so
Hmm.
until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.